We invite you to worship with Tabernacle Baptist Church. 5 services, multiple locations. Tabernacle, Maine, 1223 Laney Walker Boulevard, Augusta, Georgia, 7:15 a.m., 9:45 a.m., and 12:15 p.m. And Tabernacle West, 702 North Bel Air Road, Evans, Georgia, 9 a.m. and 11:15 a.m. The virus of fear, worry, discouragement, loneliness, and despair has overtaken our lives. We're in a spiritual health crisis. In times like these, it's easy to give up. It's easy to allow the troubles of today to disrupt the hope of tomorrow. We're trying to figure out, will life ever be the same? We're faced with the reality that we have been infected. The question for us is this: when we're fighting for our lives, what do we need? We need help. We need healing. We need a cure. Isn't that what we're looking for?
Where it's all about God's people. TBC, making an impact. Where it's all about God's people. TBC, making an impact. Welcome to the Kingdom Living Broadcast with the Reverend Dr. Charles E. Goodman. Making an impact.
I just come to share. I know last week we dealt with the virus that you had, which was fear. I hope that you've been really taking your medicine of faith, which cures fear. As I told you last week, that it's not just something you can do periodically, but you need to consistently take faith. I brought you back in today because your test results also came back and indicated there's another virus that you're wrestling with. Let me see if I can put it this way, because I want to make sure that I'm tempering you. I don't want you to be so alarmed, but I need you to know that what you're facing, I don't want you to feel like you're in it by yourself. So let me share with you what I believe is going to help kind of pace this, because I don't want you to feel like you're the only one in the world that has this infection. Matter of fact, you may not know this about me, but one of the things that I've learned since I was a young boy growing up with my grandparents, my grandfather loved to garden. He would grow all kinds of vegetables and things in our garden. But one of the things I realized was burdensome to gardens or even just the yard was weeds. Weeds are unique because they seem to grow anywhere. And if we're not careful, if we do not check weeds, they can stunt the growth of our vegetables, of our grass, of everything. Matter of fact, even Jesus spoke about it when he talked about these weeds or thorns that choke out the cares of this world. They can cause us to miss out on God's best for us. And so this second test, I want to inform you, tells me you tested positive for worrying. So today I really need to help you. Last week I helped you to try to figure out the cure for fear. And today I want to talk about the cure for the virus called worry. George Herbert said 100 load of worry will not pay an ounce of debt. If that's the case, how come we all wrestle and struggle with worry? Matter of fact, almost 40% of Americans are more anxious than they were at this time last year, according to the American Psychiatric Association. And when they surveyed those 1,000 U.S. adults, they reported that they were wrestling with a lot of different things that has been happening in their lives. And when they broke it down, this is what they said the average person's anxiety is focused on. 40% on things that will never happen. 30% on things about the past that can't be changed. 12% things about criticism by others, mostly untrue. 10% about health, which gets worse with stress. And out of that, only 8% about real problems that will be faced. In other words, in honest, here's the thing that worry does. Worry causes us to focus on stuff that has the potential to never happen. That's the case. Why are we infected with it? Why does it seem like at every turn, worry seems to be in our lives? Well, first of all, let me help you, because I know you're still trying to navigate your diagnosis from last week. But there is a difference between worry and fear. See, worry is shallow. Fear is powerful. Worry makes you sick, but fear relates to a specific known threat. Actually, fear helpful because it either moves to the fight or flight syndrome. Here's the truth. Fear is unavoidable, but worry is avoidable. Fear is deep, but worry is shallow. Worry tends to make us think that things are necessary, but it's not proactive and it's definitely not helpful. Matter of fact, worry buddies up with your imagination in order to exploit your fears. Let me help you out there. I know you didn't ask me for diet assumptions, but let me just be honest with you. Worry is the junk food for your fears. Unlike other things that help in problem solving, worry broadcasts our fears and can actually make us more insular than what we need to be. Worrying is feeling uneasy or being overly concerned with a situation or a problem. As a matter of fact, what makes worry and anxiety so difficult is that it makes us focus on things that may never happen. Here's the truth. Chronic worrying can affect your daily life. And if we'll be honest, even in the midst of this pandemic, it's affected us in a lot of different ways. Worrying can affect your appetite. Worrying can affect your lifestyle habits. Worrying can affect your relationships. Worrying can affect your sleep. And yes, worry can even affect your job performance. Let's be honest, most of us don't manage worry well. And so we'll self-medicate. We'll do harmful stuff like overeating, smoking, alcohol, or drugs. We'll try to do anything in order to subside that feeling of worry. Why I need to tell you why this is important, because even more rampant than fear, worry, it spreads more similar to a virus. It's invisible. Here's what's crazy. You don't have to show signs of it to have it. And it can spread from person to person. And the reason I had to rush you in to bring you to this examination today is because if you're not careful, worry can weaken your immune system. Because there's nothing that works quicker like fear and like worrying. Exasperated husband asked his wife, "Why are you always worrying when it doesn't do any good?" And she quickly piped back, "Oh, yes, it does. 90% of the things I worry about never happen." How many of us are like her? Well, according to your chart, I wanted to be honest with you and tell you some of the symptoms. The physical symptoms of worry could be stomach pain or nausea or digestive trouble. Also, it tells us, according to some studies, it can produce headaches, insomnia, and I know that happens to us. It can cause weakness or fatigue, rapid breathing or shortness of breath, pounding heart or increased heart rate, sweating, and yes, even trembling or shaking. But there's some spiritual effects to worry too. Worry robs us of the ability to enjoy life. It makes us feel hopeless and full of shame. Listen, I'm a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual doctor, but I also believe in some practical things as well. Because I do think there's some good things to help us combat worry and anxiety. I believe you should see a therapist to understand your condition. I believe in practicing self-relaxation techniques like meditation. I also believe, and I'm grateful that's why you're here in this examination room, find a support group. Get people that you can talk to and share with. But I'm also grateful that you showed up today, because what you're doing is you're educating yourself about what's going on. And I know it's difficult, but here's another way to practically press through worry. Choose to be optimistic. Have a cheerful disposition. It won't be easy, but I've learned this. Optimism is a skill that can be learned. And I know what you're saying. Doc, there's so much going on. I'm stressed on every hand, and I feel you. This pandemic, there have been days when all of us, me included, have been down, and I've been up. I've had days where I've been so hopeful for the future, and there are other days when my cup of hope, I'll be honest, has been empty. But I want to encourage you today. Embrace the wide spectrum of the other side of this issue of worry. I want you to know that it's okay to just be sometimes. Matter of fact, I want you to know something. the ultimate manual that helps us in all areas of our lives, tells us how we should approach anxiety and worry. Philippians 4:6 says, don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God. 1 Peter 5:7 also tells us to cast all our anxieties, all our cares, all our worries on him, because guess what? He cares for us. Let me be honest with you. Let me be real for a second. I understand worrying. And if the truth be told, sometimes it just feels good to worry. It feels natural, like the right thing to do most of the time. But let me just warn you, and even I have to warn myself, worrying can be wasteful. Wasted time. Wasted cussing, even though I know you don't cuss. Wasted energy. I hear you. And the question is raised, what should I do? That's why I'm glad you came today. Because I don't believe it's God's will for you to stay worrying. I don't believe it's God's will for anxiety to weigh you down. I do not believe it's God's will for you to stay where you are. In other words, you know how you move from worrying to move beyond it is you got to learn how to trust in God and trust in God's plan. That's why I come today to let you know there's a cure for worry. And the cure for worry, catch this, I need you to get this. This is what I'm prescribing for you today. The cure for worry is peace. Yes. Last week when you had fear, I told you the cure was faith. Well, this week, the cure for the virus called worry is peace. And I want to share that with you today. I'm already got your prescription written out, but I need to explain to you why I feel that peace is what cures our worry. Peace I'm talking about is not something that the world can give to you. Matter of fact, the peace I'm talking about is this whole notion of shalom. It's a word meaning wholeness and completeness and soundness. It's a word that is all-encompassing. And that's why you come today, because you're raising that critical question, how do we attain peace? Listen, I know we're still waiting for a vaccine for COVID-19, and they say it's going to take 18 to 24 years, but here's the good news. There's a cure for what you're dealing with right now. There's a cure for managing it right now. This is the peace I want to offer to you today. Peace that's lasts, peace that transcends situations. Peace that is able to let hope, joy overflow in our lives. Numbers 6:24-26 says, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Psalm 29:11 lets us know, may the Lord give strength to his people, and may the Lord bless his people with peace. Let me help you. I want to explain it to you. If you're like me, whenever the doctor prescribes something, I want to make sure that I know that it works. So let me help you, because peace that I'm offering to you today, that I am prescribing for you to cure your worry, is going to bless us in 3 different ways. I'm here to tell you, money back guaranteed. I promise you that you ain't got to worry about your copay. Listen, your copay has already been paid. All you have to do is take this peace. Well, Doc, I hear you asking the question, what does this peace do for me? Well, number one, peace settles you. The reason I am confident in this peace is that peace settles you. When you think about peace, even from a definition standpoint, there's 2 types of peace. There's peace that deals with the cessation of hostility, but then there's the other side of peace that focuses on freedom from inner turmoil. That's interesting, because one side, peace says no more problems. But the other form of peace says, even with problems, I can be sustained. That's the peace I'm here to offer. I'm not here to offer you a peace that tells you you're going to have the answers to every question. I'm not here to give you the peace that gives you when all this is going to end. No, the peace that I'm prescribing today that comes from God is a peace that lets you know, regardless of how the trouble keeps going, I'll be okay. That's why John 14:27 says, peace I leave with you, and my peace I give to you, not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Reminds me of a famous tourist spot called the Winchester Mansion in San Jose, California. This massive structure was built by a woman by the name of Sarah Winchester. She was a widow of a gun company owner, and for 38 years, from 1884 until 1922, the house was under constant construction. Teams of carpenters, masons, and other workers worked around the clock in order to keep working on her house. People have asked, why did she do that so often? Many believe that she was haunted. She thought that if she kept building on the house, it would give her some sense of peace. Matter of fact, she overdid it, and in that one house, there's over 10,000 windows, 160 rooms in total. Over $70 billion in today's currency is what many have said she invested in her mansion, all in a desperate search for peace that was doomed to fail. Oh, don't look at her with that kind of look. I can see some of y'all side-eyeing already. But the truth of us, we do the same thing she does. We keep trying to build stuff ourselves and develop stuff ourselves. So we'll try to build our own homes and build our own lives. And here's the truth. You can invest as much as you want and still not have peace. You can do everything you think is needed and still not have peace. You can assign the work of your life and still not have peace. That's why this peace that I'm offering today does not come from human hands. No. It's not something I can just give to you. It's something that God has to give to you. See, peace is different. Peace is something of permanence. This shalom peace is positive. This shalom peace lets us know that God is keeping us in the midst of it. That's why Isaiah 54:10 says, "For the mountains may depart and the hills be removed, but my steadfast love will not depart from you, and my covenant of peace shall not be removed." There was once a wealthy benefactor who decided that he wanted to have someone paint the perfect picture of peace. He was going to make it a competition. And this is what he decided to do. He said, I'll get the top 2 painters and I'll let them go and paint the perfect picture of peace. Well, 2 painters ultimately ended up being the top 2. And so in order to make it fair, this wealthy benefactor said, listen, guys, this is what I need you to do. I need you to go find one singular place, and one day, painter, you paint it, and the next day, the next painter will paint it, and y'all bring it back, and I will judge to see which is the perfect picture of peace. First painter went out on this day, and it was an absolutely gorgeous day. I mean, the sun was shining. You could see the blue sky. You could see the nice grassy knoll of hills. You could see the nice tree as it erect on the hillside. You could see the river babbling peacefully down, and that painter drew what they saw. He confidently brought that picture back to the wealthy benefactor and said, I've won. You can close the contest. This is the absolute best picture of peace. The wealthy benefactor looked at it and said, man, I can't argue with you. This looks amazing. You might be right. This is the perfect picture of peace. Painter number 2 started to object. Said, how? You can't do that. In order to be fair, let me go do my painting. The benefactor said, you're right. All sense of fairness, I need to let you go. So the next day, in that same spot, painter number 2 goes, but things drastically changed. That day, it was a major thunderstorm. Sun was hidden behind the clouds. You could see the rain pelting the ground. The tree that was standing erect before was now leaning as it was being buffeted by the wind. That cool, babbling brook just the day before was now a raging body of water. And that painter drew exactly what he saw from his perspective. Brought the painting back to the wealthy benefactor, and they laid them down side by side, and the wealthy benefactor looked at the drawing from day 1 and the drawing from day 2, and this was his conclusion. He looked at it and said, I conclude that the winner is painter number 2. Painter number 1 started to object, said, what do you mean his painting is a perfect picture of peace? Look at his painting and look at mine. Mine has a sun shining. His has a sun covered. Mine has the tree standing erect, and his has it being bent by the wind. Mine has the grass flowing and the nice babbling brook. His has the grass being buffeted by the rain and the river raging. What do you mean? That's the perfect picture of peace. And that's when the benefactor said, you're right in all that you said. He said, but notice in all the confusion of his picture, notice in the branch of the tree, there's a bird that's still singing. In other words, what the benefactor was teaching those painters and to us today is that it does not matter the external stuff. The question is, can you be like that bird and still sing in the midst of storms? That's what peace is like. That's when peace keeps us. That's a peace that you can't get from the world. Peace sustains you. But also, this peace strengthens you. All of us need strength. All of us need something that can help us. And in times like this, I don't know about you, worrying has the potential and the potency to make us weak. I know I'm not the only one. Sometimes because of worry and anxiety, don't even feel like getting out of the bed. But yet there's a peace that strengthens us when we can't strengthen ourselves. 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 16 says, now may the Lord of peace himself give you peace at all times in every way. The Lord be with you all. What I'm here to suggest to you and tell you what peace does is peace gives each of us strength. Strength we didn't even realize we had. It's a strength that only God can provide. Matter of fact, the young man was eager to grow in his Christian life. He actually just came and saw me before you showed up today. He was my prior patient. And he talked to me about this walk he's been having with God. He decided he wanted to be the perfect Christian. You know how many of us are. He wrote down all the things he would give up, places he would go minister, the areas of ministry he would enter. He was excited. He made a list out and took that list to the church and laid it on the altar. He thought he would feel joy, but instead he felt empty. So he went home and started adding to the list. Wrote down more stuff that he would give up and sacrifice. But the longer the list, the more empty he felt. Matter of fact, he had a wise pastor that was a sage and mentor to him. He told him his situation, said, Pastor, listen, this is what's been happening. The longer my list, the less I feel I need some help. Why am I feeling this way? Only for the wise pastor to tell him, well, this is what I want you to do. Take that piece of paper you had before, ball it up and throw it away. And I want you to grab a blank sheet of paper. That's all I want you to do with it. Sign your name on the bottom of it. Put that blank sheet of paper with your signature on it on the altar. Now, a young man did that, and guess what? Peace came in his heart. Why? Because he realized in that moment that peace does not come by what I do. Peace comes by who is with me. That when I offer God my blank sheet, when I tell God it's not me, it's you, that's the kind of peace that passes all understanding. That's why Isaiah 26:3 says, you keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he or she trusts in you. That's why this peace I'm giving to you, you don't earn it. You can't buy it at Walmart. You can't purchase this on Amazon. No. You can't get this through Google Docs. You cannot get this. This is a peace that only comes from God. It's true peace. It's where God has revealed himself through his son, Jesus Christ. And that's why Paul wrote in Romans 5:1, therefore, since we have been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. Here's why I am certain that peace can cure you, is because peace is given to us through Jesus Christ. That's how you can be strong even when you're weak. That's how you can be sure even when you're uncertain. It's a peace that passes all understanding. I'm certain this thing is going to help you because it's going to sustain you. Peace is going to strengthen you. And yes, here's the last thing. Peace secures you. I want you to know there's security in peace. That is something about peace that allows us to just be secure. Philippians 4:6-7 says, don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and mind in Christ Jesus. There's a story in the Bible that I absolutely love. It's a story where the disciples were crossing over the other side on the Sea of Galilee. You might know this story. And what's crazy is they encounter a storm. So bad the storm is rocking the ship that they're on. But the interesting thing is that while they're above on the bow of the ship, Jesus is underneath the deck, asleep on a pillow. They tripping, y'all. If you read the story, they go down and tell Jesus, they wake him up, and this is the question that raised him. Don't you care that we're in a storm? Now, I know. You're going to raise the question, what audacity, what gumption do these disciples have? But let's be honest, have we not asked Jesus the same thing? Loss of job, Jesus, do you care? Loss of loved one, Jesus, do you care? Loss of finances, everything on the list. And I've come to understand, I appreciate a God that can handle our questions. This is what Jesus does. He gets up to the bow of the ship, and this is what he says, peace be still. He speaks to the wind and to the waves. And because of that moment, it also speaks to the soul and heart of the disciples. Here's the good news I want to let you know, and why I am certain about peace and how it can cure your worry is God wants you to have peace. He wants to bring peace to the storms of our lives. He doesn't want us living in fear or losing our hope. When storms rage, when worry gets the best of us, when anxiety seems to be just in our minds, the God of peace is in the boat with you. Here's what I need you to know. You are not alone. You can be quarantined, but you're not alone. You can have uncertainty in life, but you're not alone. You can have stuff that is causing some tension and anxiety, but here's why I am sure about peace is that he's letting us know he's with us. That's why Jesus said, this peace I leave with you. You got to learn how to turn to him today. When I was growing up, I used to love math until I got into algebra. Man, there was something about algebra that just was strange to me. It just didn't make sense. It was almost like having Mandarin or Chinese. I struggled with algebra. But I had an amazing algebra teacher there in Greensboro, Dudley High School, Ms. Gwen Johnson. And I appreciate her because she knew that.
Thank you for joining us. If you were blessed by today's message, there are several ways to view it again for free and play it back anytime and anywhere. Visit our YouTube channel, TBC Augusta GA, and our website, tbcaugusta.org. You can also download the Tab Impact app from the Apple Store or Google Play. As always, thank you for worshiping with us at the most impactful place on the planet, the historic Tabernacle Baptist Church.